We get a lot of questions about reverse osmosis systems because things like lead, chromium-6, and Gen X contamination are gaining attention in national press. Unfortunately, this is causing people to rush out and buy reverse osmosis or RO systems to filter their water because there's some flawed and misleading information out there claiming that RO is the best way to filter everything. While some RO systems can be good options, we hear a lot from people who regret buying one because they weren't prepared for the downsides and ended up replacing it with one of ours. Here are 5 things we hear over and over from people who regret buying a reverse osmosis water filter. Number 1, a lot of reverse osmosis systems don't remove the contaminants that you think they do. Using the term reverse osmosis to talk about water filters is a bit like using the term gasoline powered when talking about engines. You don't know if you're talking about a lawnmower or a sports car. The same thing is true for reverse osmosis water filters, and unfortunately this has caused a bit of a race to the bottom. Our advice is that you'll want to make sure to check the system you're considering is specifically tested to remove the contaminants that are found in your water. For example, when you read the fine print for the system that we have on this table, you'll find that it's not actually rated to remove lead, arsenic, or chromium-6. Number 2, if you don't change the pre-filters religiously, you could ruin the reverse osmosis stage without even knowing it. One main purpose of the pre-filters is to protect the RO stage from things like chlorine, which can damage the membrane. This means that if the pre-filters aren't changed out in time, chlorine can break through and damage the membrane downstream. We've heard from several reverse osmosis users in DC, Pittsburgh, and New York City who were shocked to find high levels of lead coming out of their reverse osmosis water filters when they tested their home's water. It turned out that they changed their pre-filters too late, so chlorine broke through and ruined the RO stage. Unfortunately, they didn't realize it, so they kept drinking the water. Number 3, installation requires drilling multiple holes in your kitchen and an expensive plumbing job. Most people who buy a reverse osmosis system assume that they'll be able to handle the installation. They quickly change their mind after learning that they'll need to drill a hole in their home's drain pipe for the system's waistline and another hole in their countertop or sink for a dedicated faucet. Unless you're confident in your abilities, be sure to budget a few $100s for professional installation. You definitely don't want to risk cracking your countertop or drain pipes. Number 4, your under-sink storage will disappear. If you have a garbage disposal, you'll want to take measurements to make sure that the filtration system will even fit under the sink. This is an example of the size of the tank that shows up when you order your system, and most people are not prepared for that. In addition to the manifold that holds the pre-filters and reverse osmosis components, you'll need to allow space for the storage tank, which is larger than a basketball. There's a reason why most pictures of installed reverse osmosis systems do not show a garbage disposal. For some people, this isn't a big deal, but for others, especially in cities where space under the sink is limited, it's a major problem. Number 5, flow rates are slower than expected. One of the most common complaints we hear is that the water pressure is very bad at the tap. This causes impatient people to ignore the filtered water tap and opt for unfiltered water, which defeats the entire point.